Hey there, it's time for another Devil's Due movie review. Today, I want to talk about Furiosa. And this came out in May of 2024. Absolutely brutal season for most movies. Despite the idea of a summer blockbuster, a lot of deserving movies did not get the attention they deserved in the spring and summer. So, I've already covered a few of them for this channel. Furiosa is the newest entry. I have to preface this by saying that Mad Max Fury Road is one of my all-time favorite action movies. So Furiosa had a high bar to clear regardless, because I love Fury Road so much. The non-stop pace to the vehicular combat, like Fury Road is just an intense, great action movie. That said, the fact that Furiosa even got close to that watermark is a testament in George Miller's directing and following up his success. Success being kind of a dubious term because financially Furiosa was considered kind of a failure. It had a estimated budget of I've heard different numbers, nothing concrete, but between 150 to 168 million, and its worldwide gross I think was about 172 million, which is not great when you factor in marketing and all that, and studio accounting. They've been known to claim higher expenses than they really had in order to keep a bigger share of the box office. So there's that. Directed by George Miller, as I mentioned. Great director. Directed the other Mad Max movies. He directed Babe 2, A Pig in the City. I just like throwing that in there because it's confusing to people. George Miller, really great director. Big fan of his work. Mad Max is kind of his baby, and he wrote the script for Furiosa actually before he wrote the script for Fury Road, because he wanted a detailed, compelling backstory for Furiosa when she's introduced in Fury Road. So he decided to make this as a prequel. Mad Max is not in it, even though there's like a quick implied cameo where it shows a figure that looks kind of like him with a car that looks kind of like his car for a brief second. Kind of an Easter egg for the fans. But he's not a character in this. It follows Furiosa, played by a couple of different actresses. The one everyone probably knows is Anya Taylor-Joy, and she is the young Charlize Theron from Fury Road. She, if you've seen Fury Road, you know how the story ends, which is actually robs it a little bit of some of its tension, because you know how everything is gonna work out. I mean, it's like watching Titanic and then being surprised the boat sinks. But Furiosa is kidnapped from the Green Place, and she's actually kidnapped by a biker gang led by Dementis, played by Chris Hemsworth. And a lot of people have been saying Chris Hemsworth is the star of the movie. I agree, he put in a very good performance, but I don't know about the star of the movie. He's an interesting character, though. And so she's taken from the Green Place. She's under the care of Dementis. He kind of favors her and keeps her close to him, gives her a stuffed animal, kind of treats her well, other than the whole being abducted part. And then Dementis meets Immortan Joe, who you know from Fury Road, and he enters negotiations with Immortan Joe, and Immortan Joe takes Furiosa because he wants her to be one of his wives when she gets older. Creepy. But and Dementis is reluctant to part with her, but he eventually does. Fast forward, she escapes, pretends to be a boy, becomes a mechanic, starts driving trucks. That's how she gets all that experience and becomes a driver. This prequel introduces us to, or shows us the locations of the Bullet Farm and Gastown, which are mentioned in Fury Road, but we never actually see. both of these movies have action set pieces that occur in those locations. So that's kind of interesting for a little more backstory from the previous film or future film. It's so confusing with prequels. The one that takes place after this, the action set pieces I mentioned, they are phenomenal, and that's kind of what makes these movies. The creativity that goes into the tactics of vehicular combat. This isn't really a spoiler in my opinion, but there's a scene where motorcycles are hauling paragliders behind them for an aerial assault. Neat, interesting. I like it. They show the design and introduction of some defensive measures for the war rigs, things like that. The action is great, and that's what saves this movie from being a failure, in my opinion. Because in terms of the characters, Dementus is interesting. Furiosa is not a bad character, but I think the average Mad Max fan wanted to see a continuation of Max's story, which makes this movie a little unneeded, but it was still an enjoyable watch. I don't want to take that away from it. What I was saying about Dementus, though, he probably is the most interesting character, and it's because he is a man of contradictions. He wants to be a leader, and he is a good leader in wartime, like conquering, raiding. He is excellent at directing his troops. When part of the negotiation with the Morton Joes, he gets to take over Gastown. And being a leader in wartime versus being a leader in peacetime are very different animals. And Dementus just really can't seem to manage something stable. He's good at managing on the fly and changing in the changing situations in a battlefield, but he's not good at managing day-to-day life. And that bites him in the butt, and instead of accepting that role's not cut out for him, he decides the solution is to keep conquering things. And that ultimately leads into conflict. Furiosa comes back for revenge. Like I said, it's hard to call anything in this a spoiler, because you know where Furiosa ends up in Fury Road. But that being said, Dementus, very interesting character. Action sequences are great. Anya Taylor-Joy does a good job with Furiosa. It's not Fury Road, but that is such a high bar to meet. There are only probably 2 or 3 movies in existence that could. This is a great film. You should see it. It's out of the theaters at this point, but it's available for purchase or rental. So, whatever it's streaming on, if you're into physical media, go grab a copy. Thumbs up, give it a chance.